have a spin. Spins nice and easy. No effort in that whatsoever. Crankshaft's nice and straight. Spins like a top. So, from here, I'll set up my dial ball gauge, my dial gauge on the crankshafts now. We'll measure thrust. This is a bit of a drag racy engine. It's got quite a heavy clutch in it. It's a big twin disc clutch, and it will be making some horsepower. So maybe I'll look for about just 3.5 thou of thrust. Normally I'll go about 3 thou on these engines. Maybe 3.5, maybe 4. Let's just see where it ends up, and then I'll make a call from there.
How come you want extra? Wouldn't you want less if there's more pressure?
No, there's because heat. It's all about heat, and block twist. If the block twists up, it's going to change all the dimensions. I don't really want to pinch up the thrust. In high performance engines, extra clearance is better. All right, so here's the dial gauge. So it's just an inch dial gauge. You've probably seen me do this in the other videos before, but it's just a standard process of checking the engine as you're assembling it. So nice and easy. It's a cast iron block, so we can mag on here. I'm just going to set this guy up. So we're not worried about the actual figure that reads right now, because we're going to zero this out. So as long as it's nice and stable, we can see that we have a little bit of clearance under the pin here, which means it's preloaded. That's a good sign. So let's zero this out. Okay, so that's 0. Go back to 0. Yep. So now what I'll do is I'll grab my blunted screwdriver, which is basically just a well and truly worn out flathead. Do you just want to film here, Nico? We'll just show them how we do it. So basically what we want to do is we want to move the crankshaft forward and back. So the best way to do it is have the crankshaft sideways like this, and then put the screwdriver between the journal, the cap, and the actual counterweight. Don't do it on this side. You can do it this side if you want, but realistically it's just easier to do here and here. So what we'll do is I'll just push the crank forwards. We'll measure the thrust that way. We can zero it there if we want to, or we can measure the deviation from 0 and then the deviation the other way. Then we can just add those together and figure out our thrust. So we'll come forwards, putting pressure on it. All right. It's gone about 1/2 thou or something. Go back the other way. It's gone back, what, is that another thou? I can't really see with the camera in the way.
Like you said, 1/2 thou, and then less than 1/2 thou, 1/2 thou.
Okay,
Less. So you need to clearance that now, eh?
Yeah, so we don't have any thrust. So now this is the thrust setting point. So as you would have seen when I tensioned my mains down, I didn't actually try and do anything other than just tension the center main, gave it a quick turn to see if she was actually going to spin. Tension the rest down, the crankshaft spins, that's a good sign. Now what we found is we don't have enough thrust. Now what we have to do is we actually have to align the thrust. Now, there is a bit of a technique to lining the thrust, and normally what you would want to do, because if you're running an automatic or a manual transmission car, the only thrust the crankshaft sees is from the clutch. So when you depress the clutch, it pushes the clutch plate in. That drives the crankshaft into these thrusts on the back here. Realistically, we want to line from the back on this engine because it will be taking a lot of thrust. The only way to do that is drive the crankshaft forwards by loosening the center cap off. So we'll loosen the tension off that. We'll belt the crankshaft from the back. That will align the thrust face, because the crankshaft will hit the unaligned caps square. We'll retension that and then check our thrust again and make sure we get the minimum clearance. Once we've got that, we're good to keep moving forwards. Trusty claw hammer.
So all that's happened is that the bearing's not seated into the cap.
No, so the cap is not square in the block. It's off center.
So it's like on an angle, you mean?
No, it's like that. So think of it like this. You've got 4 pieces of bearing making contact with one singular crankshaft. If the cap is like this, you've got the bearings on the top side of the block this side and the bearings on the top side of the cap this side touching.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're hitting it, and that aligns the cap.
Yes.
And then the other side will then be exact.
Okay, I see. Yep.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just put a alloy drift here. Hit it like that. That should align the thrust. Make sure you use an alloy or bronze drift. Do not use steel, you'll damage the crankshaft. So I'm just going to knock these up until they give a little bit of resistance. Okay, that's good. Now one sweep. That's it. So now we'll recheck our thrust. Where is it at? Is it at 0?
Yep, 0. 1.5. Half. 1.5. Half.
2 thou. No good. Alrighty, guys. That sucks. Now we have to pull the bloody thrust bearings out. So that means the center cap has to now come out because we only achieved 2 thou thrust. I have to pull the center main cap off and we have to file these thrusts down. When I say file, you generally use an oil stone and you rub them and you measure with a micrometer until you get the desired thrust. But these are King Racing bearings and I haven't used King Racing bearings before in the thrust. So I have some ACLs there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ACLs in because they might just be easier than filing thrusts. I mean, or, you know, rubbing the thrust down might just be easier to change them out, or I can mix and match until I get the right clearance that I want. So we're going to probably go off camera now, take this cap off, remove the thrusts, mix and match until we to get the desired clearance, and then once we've got a result, we'll come back and put the rods and pistons in.
Cool.
Well, that'll be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any engine related questions that you'd like to ask Matt, leave them down in the comment section. And next time I'm in the workshop with Matt, I'll fire up the camera. And as long as your questions are relevant, I'll be sure to ask him and we'll be making a video on it. So head on down to that comment section, leave us a question, and we might just answer it in the next video. And while you're there, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks, guys.